Welcome to an expansive life conversation with results architect SANDE GOLGART. Our guest today is Colleen Rue. Colleen is a seasoned multisport endurance athlete and dynamic media professional whose career spans morning radio, live events, and endurance races. Known for her ability to genuinely connect with others, Colleen channels that talent into her greatest passion, helping people achieve big goals. Your journey to realignment from fear to freedom starts now. Live an expansive life.
Wow. Amazing. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of An Expansive Life. I'm your host, SANDE GOLGART, and I am so excited for today's conversation. We get to welcome a very special person, someone I met last year in Sun Valley, who was hosting and emceeing the 29029 event there, which she does as a true pro. She's like everybody in the community's hype person, and just a phenomenal person, someone that I feel very blessed to know and to have gotten to know a little bit. And I'm so excited for Colleen to not only share her story about who she is, the events that she represents, but the transformations that she witnesses live as people are going through their own amazing journey. So Colleen, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Sandy. It's such a privilege to have the invitation. And I flash back to when I first met you, and that first day before 29 actually started. We got to sit and we had this great conversation, and just your energy and your calm and your peace. And it was really special for me. So it's special to be here and get to expand on that conversation that maybe started on the mountain.
Yeah, I love it. I'm looking forward to diving into it more. Before we get into these transformations that you've been fortunate to witness, tell us a little bit, and for the audience, a little bit about yourself, your role, and what you do, what you get to do. And then we'll go into a little bit of detail on 29029 specifically, because I know you've been a part of Ironman and marathons all over the world, but I'd like to dive in specifically to that one. We'll talk a little bit about the mountain, the external and the internal mountain.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I always get excited when I get to talk about 29029. So thanks for that opportunity. So I am a 47-year-old mom of two, and I live in southern Utah. I'm in St. George, Utah, the most beautiful place on the planet. If you've never been here, it's a beautiful place to be. I have been an athlete my whole entire life. I started as a fitness instructor at quite a young age, right outside of high school. And so fitness and being in endurance sport was a big part of my life. I ran my first marathon in 2001 when I was in my early 20s, and it just kind of went from there. I'm a two-time Ironman athlete and had a good solid career in multisport, and then did ultra marathoning and still continue this day with some different things. I always run. I'm always out and running and doing something, but that's always been a part of my life. And sport, particularly endurance sport, is something that as I participated myself and as I coached athletes throughout my career as a fitness professional, you could just see that it was so transformative for me and for the people that I worked with. And I think that's why I loved it so much. And I had the opportunity to get involved with these endurance events on the back end as an operations side and helping out with things and logistics of events. And that kind of morphed into this job as a race announcer. If you've ever been to a large endurance event, or maybe Ironman's maybe the most quintessential announcer that you know, Mike Riley, you hear that voice at the end that's calling somebody across the finish line who's been there all day and is celebrating these athletes. I had the opportunity to really change my career in the middle of my adult life to become this race announcer. And so full time, I get to travel around and see people do incredible things. I am a grown-up cheerleader, basically, and it's amazing because I really get to see the heart and soul of so many individuals and how endurance sport changes their life. And I've had the privilege of being with 29029 Everesting since 2019. So they had 3 events before then. So I've been with them for quite a long time. I think this is the 8th season this year. So
Wow, amazing. So for those not familiar with 29029, could you help people get any kind of a grasp about what this event is, what it's all about, and your role at 29029?
Yeah, it's kind of funny whenever we say what is 29029, I flash back to 2020 when I was first working with 29029. Of course, everything was closed down during COVID, and I was in my bedroom recording a video, and the line I was saying was, "What does 29029 mean to you?" And my kids say it all the time because they heard me saying it over and over again after I was recording it. So I flash back to that because really, what does that mean? Well, just the number simply 29029 is the height of Mount Everest and 29,029 feet. That's the roof of the world. And what 29029 Everesting does is they invite you to come and find your Everest. We rent out a ski resort that has a gondola. If you know what a gondola is, it's an enclosed car, kind of like a ski lift, but it's enclosed. We rent out that mountain and we challenge you to gain the vertical equivalent of Mount Everest. So climbing 29,029 feet, and you have 36 hours to do it. So where I met you, Sandy, was in Sun Valley, Idaho, right there outside of Ketchum, a beautiful resort, really one of my favorites to go to. And on that mountain, you have to climb the mountain 15 times, ascending about 2,000 feet every single lap, riding the gondola down for about 12 minutes, and just press repeat for 36 hours until you have accomplished 29,029 feet. So it's a simple concept, but I know we're going to get into, there's so much complexity that happens during that journey.
Yeah. Jason, do you want to share the pictures so that people can get?
Yeah, so I love this picture right here, Sandy, with you and your red bib, and we're at what we call the ascent board. So every time a lap is accomplished, you guys come back down and you brand the board. And that's where I stand. That's where my role is to stand at the board just to welcome you back and send you off up the mountain. And so I get to see people over and over and over again. If it takes them about an hour to 2 hours, some places it takes 3 hours for them to come back down, but I get to see them as they're taking that break, that reset to start climbing again. And it's really fun. So I get to see everything unfold. I get to see the good, the bad, the ugly. I get to see the whole journey. I love this. This is your very first brand that you put on the board. This is a branding iron. It's super hot. And we actually burn the 29029 triangle logo into that board. And there's this smell of the wood, this accomplishment that is so visceral every time you get to brand that board, and then we send you back off on another journey. Just lots of smiles, lots of great things. And the red bib that you have on here, that indicates that you're on your final lap up the mountain. So you'd accomplished 14, you came back down. Holly, that's the volunteer who's there, Holly Genoy, she's amazing and helps me out at the board. We put on that red bib, signifying that you are on your final lap. And then we send you up on that final lap. And I think we have even a little video that shows that ascent board, so you guys can kind of see all those brands, Sandy's name there, his bib number, and then look at all those brands that he stacked up over 36 hours to accomplish that goal of 29,029 feet. And once you get up to the summit on your very last lap at 29029, we bestow you with the red hat. And really, it's just a normal red hat that has a great logo on it, but it means so much in that whole process of 36 hours to be able to wear that red hat.
Yes, I don't believe there's any other hat that I could say I have actually earned.
Yeah.
You know you've earned it when you get to the top and they put it on your head. And it is just another red hat. It's got a really cool logo, but you know there's so much more meaning behind it. For me, in those 15 laps, I always saw each lap and I started to embody and embrace the opportunity to leave an old version of myself behind with every ascent. You know, every time I ran into some level of interference, it could be cramping, it could be exhaustion, it could be heat, I would pause and just say, that's just a little resistance from my old self.
Yeah.
I'm going to say goodbye and take one more step joyfully. And doing that 15 times for me was such an amazing, like, transformation that you got to participate and integrate immediately. You know, you didn't have to go read a book, learn it, take it back, try to incorporate it. Like, you really got to be in it. You get to feel it, and you could literally feel, I could feel myself killing off these old versions of myself that thought, this is hard. Are we going to make it? It's hot. It's like that victim energy that wants to creep into our life. Kill it off, say goodbye, thank it for all of it, all that it's done to serve us to that point, but then get to move forward and step into a new you. And this is just such an incredible event and opportunity to be able to do that. I know you've seen some amazing transformations on the trail. Would you care to share some of them that stand out to you with people that you've met? And, by the way, there are 8 to 10 of these that happen each year.
Yeah.
So it's different resorts, different times throughout the summer. So there's a lot, and probably 300 participants at each.
Yeah, that's about on average. So we see quite a few people and quite a few transformations, like you said. When you were just talking, I flashed back to a clip from a video that we have. It's on our YouTube page of a gentleman. His name was Jacob, and he climbed Sun Valley as well. One of the very first times we were at Sun Valley. And he was sitting in the gondola with his red bib and his red hat on. He had finished. And he talked about the event of how it completely broke him into pieces, but then allowed him to pick up the pieces that he wanted to take with him. And I thought that was such a beautiful metaphor for what an event like this, what a challenge like this can do. And that's why endurance sport is so, it's just such a positive shift in where we might be, because there is a lot that we have to shed, and we have to come to grips with that. The first lap feels great for everybody. Everybody goes up and they're like, oh, I did it in an hour. It was so fast. This is great. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. And we celebrate and we have fun. But it's on the 6th, the 7th lap, depending on the mountain. Every mountain has a different layout. But if we're talking about Sun Valley, about lunchtime, lap 5, 6, 7, when people are like, wait, this is hard. And like you said, Sandy, you come up against that resistance. And I've met people on Friday who are like, I can't do this. I can't do this. They still have 24 hours left on the clock, but yet they are quitting on themselves after only a few ascents because it feels hard. And we try to work through that process with them. And again, in my position at the board, I get to see this kind of unfold. I'm like, let's stop. Let's go get some fuel. Let's get some recovery. And then let's keep going. Because the mantra of 29 of 29 is keep climbing. And I love that, because keep climbing doesn't mean that you're just going to go out there and you're just going to keep hammering as fast as you possibly can. That's not it, because nobody can get to where they're going with that kind of methodology. You have to do the things that you need to do to get yourself to the top. Maybe that's eating. Maybe that's resting. Maybe that's leaning into somebody. Maybe that's shedding some of those other things that you have in your life. There is a man that I just have so many tender feelings for. His name is Mike Douglas. He lives in the Midwest, and he had come to our Snow Basin event with his wife quite a few times. And he was just never able to finish. She would go on to finish, but he would get too hot and he would have to stop, or he would just give up. And I watched him give up. And he wasn't just giving up because it was, there's sometimes that in life at endurance events that it's safest to give up and to stop climbing because of your body. And we want to make sure everybody is healthy and well. But for Mike, it wasn't that he was giving up. He was afraid that if he didn't give up, that he might fail. And he was dealing with all of this stuff. And I remember he came off the mountain and he had, Sandy, one more lap to go. One more lap. He had his red bib. And he sat down on the patio and he said he was done. He couldn't climb anymore. He had time. His wife went on ahead of him and he went up to the top, and I went up to the top because at the end of the event, I go to the summit and I call in all the final people who are coming out. And he and I stood together and we watched his wife approach in her red bib about to finish the event. And he's wearing his red bib. And I know for him how difficult that moment was, but if we fast forward 2 more seasons, he came to another mountain and he had thought about what had happened. He had thought about the failures he had had before. And He had reshaped his thinking and he stepped into this transformative opportunity. And then at Mont Tremblant, I watched a whole new version of Mike Douglas show up. And he got to the top again with 15 laps. He earned that red hat. And the story even continues because he got so much confidence from that. It was like he finally broke through. He finally picked up the pieces of himself that he wanted. And then he signed up to go to one of our most difficult events that we hosted last year at Aspen. It was our highest elevation event. It just had some really unique features to it that made it more challenging. I mean, you were climbing up to 11,200 feet, where Snow Basin, where he had not finished, topped out at 8,600. Mike showed up there with that red hat from Mont Tremblant, a whole new man, and he went on to finish Aspen. It was just this transformation from Mike sitting on that patio, refusing to get up and finish, to picking up the pieces that he needed, transforming his life, and then standing on the top twice in 2 years and just showing himself that he was a different person.
Yeah, wow, that is so cool when you hear about those things. I'd love to talk a little bit about what is it that makes it so hard? And I'll just share a couple of things that I've learned because I think they might help people who are tuning in. Because one of the things that's hard is just signing up. And there's a fear, like maybe I'm not enough. Like maybe I'm not cut out for this. And what I've learned about that is we all live inside of a story. The story is a lie. The story comes from things that you've been conditioned to believe, from feeling a need to fit in, to be accepted, to be perceived as nice, and to have nice things said about you. And so you start kind of pretending, and you're realizing the things you need to do as a human to gain acceptance. And you find things that kind of work for you. Unfortunately, for many people, a part of that, it can be like a victim's energy, like, well, I can't do this because this happened to me. And, because my age is this, or, when I was little, I had this. And they'll see that people feel kind of sorry for them, and they'll see that as attention. And then that story grows. And then they've developed a story that makes them sit on the patio and say, no, I can't do the last lap. And if you let them continue, they'll give you all the evidence in the world as to why that's true. But until you see that as a lie and you actually reprogram that into the base of your brain, not the thinking part of your brain, the thinking part says, I've got one more lap. Who can't do one more lap?
Right.
But the base of your brain actually stores all those feelings, and it's the part of you that might be considered, I'm not a brain expert, but maybe your subconscious, which is saying, no, remember, we're a bit like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, but if you can just accept the fact and learn and turn this light on that says, it's just a lie. If you can just say, it's just a lie, look at the events and people in your life, and they'll show you kind of where you're stuck in your story, and let it dissolve. Which is what I learned in 2029, is how powerful judgment is. And if you can remove yourself from judging yourself and realize anytime you're judging someone else or a circumstance, it's just a mirror to show you where you are judging yourself, and let that dissolve, you can move to a place where you can always take the next step, and you can do it joyfully with a smile on your face. And so you can move through that. But when you understand the way the brain works, our conditioning works, it's not whether you can or you can't. It's at what point are you going to be willing to admit the story is a lie?
Yeah.
And I'm completely safe on the other side of what I perceive to be my biggest fear.
Yeah.
What comes up for you when you hear that?
What comes up is a story of Shayna. She was at Snow Basin as well. And it was Friday. Again, we're 4 laps in. At Snow Basin, you have to go 13 laps. We're about 4 laps in, and Shayna's not feeling well. She stops and she rests. And then it's the afternoon on Friday, because we start at 6 a.m. on Friday and we finish at 6 p.m. on Saturday. And she's just giving up. She doesn't feel good. Her stomach doesn't feel good. It's just not working. She's in this spiral. And her husband is telling me about what's going on. And I'm like, let me talk to her for just a minute. And so I go over and she's just breaking down. And yes, her stomach didn't feel good. Yes, she was not in a great spot. It was hot. Things were hard. But at the root, she didn't believe she could do it. That story that was programmed in her was, I can't do this. And she just kept saying to me, I can't do this. And I stopped her and I said, Shayna, I'm going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. So I need you just to keep climbing that mountain. And I feel like that's what 29 gives us, is the ability for other people to come in and say, that story that you're telling yourself is a lie. I don't see that. And I'm going to hold some space for you while we just keep moving through.
Yeah. It hit me as well. Like that's such a beautiful story of just keep climbing, right? Like the mantra of 29. And when I got to the top, I got in my car to drive back to Seattle, about 11 hours. It hit me that my intention for doing these is I had never done them before. And I was shaming endurance events. I don't know why. I just had never done it, but I heard stories about toenails floating around in your shoes and blisters and chafing and throwing up. And I just thought, why would anyone willingly sign up and do that to themselves? It just didn't make sense to me. But I recognized I was judging the event. I would judge people that did them. And it was all really just an excuse for me to not get in the arena. So I decided I'm going to get in the arena. Like, I'm going to stop judging. I'll jump in. And then I had the intention I was going to do it joyfully. So I was able to do that. Miraculously, I finished. And it's not easy by any stretch, but physically I wasn't sore. And I had learned a trick from a meditation guru in Bali before I showed up, which I'll share if we have time. But anyway, I got off the mountain. I drove home the next morning, and it just hit me like, looking out at the horizon, the greatest endurance event we've already signed up for is life. Like, we're already in an endurance event. So it made me realize I was judging my life, my circumstances, people, all sorts of things. And if I could just drop that, life would unfold joyfully, which helped me then realize the things that you think in your own circumstance that you don't like are generally parts of yourself that you think you don't like. And the moment you stop judging that and you fall in love with all the parts of you, you can really quickly move forward and watch as those things dissolve. The lies just kind of start falling like leaves in autumn. They just gently fall off, and you go, oh my gosh, I'm free to do whatever I want. And it's not like it has to be this big forceful action. I can just allow it. And I can always take one more step with a smile on my face. But this is what we're in right now, not on the mountain. That is the endurance event we're all in, life.
Yeah. And we say that all the time, that the mountain truly is just a metaphor for life. And it plays out so beautifully over those 36 hours that we get to spend together. Every lap is an opportunity. What are you going to do with that opportunity? Every morning you wake up, you have an opportunity to take that day. What are you going to do? Are you going to spend it on your phone scrolling? Are you going to connect with your children? Are you going to create something? Are you going to find joy in the circumstance that you're in? Because a lot of times we can't control, just like on the mountain, we can't control when October 2023, the skies opened at Stratton Mountain and we got 4 inches of rain. But what we could control is the clothes we put on, the fuel we put in our body, and our tenacity to just keep moving. And people, to this day, I go back to that Stratton 2023 and people finished. We had over half of the field finished, and most people in those circumstances would be like, oh, this is too hard. Why would I go out there when it's wet and it's cold and it's raining? But it was a choice. How are we going to show up today? And every day, every time we open our eyes, we have that opportunity. And that's a beautiful thing. And we do it so well on the mountain. And sometimes when we slip back into life, that's where it gets hard. That's where those judgments resurface. That's where it feels like life is happening to us rather than us having a choice in it. But at the end of the day, we do have a choice on how we respond and if we're going to choose to keep climbing.
Yeah. I think like that brings up for me this idea I've talked about on the show before that, there's infinite energies that we have access to as beings, but three predominant ones that I share with people, and we all spend some time here. But like in our victim's energy, it's when world feels tight, it feels constricting, it feels like everything is happening to us. It feels like, well, the blister showed up, or I slipped, or it's too hot. And of course, I couldn't be expected to perform today, fill in the blank. But if you let go of that and you just expand out a little bit, you'll see that in that energy, you're powerless. You've given away all of your power. That's why you feel like you can't do what you think you need to do. But it's only another lie in your head. So if you let go and you expand out and you create a little bit more awareness, then you can move into like your ego, which would say, well, I'm going to show the mountain I can do this. I'm going to prove it. I'll force myself to the top. And that's a little bit more healthy. Certainly it's not powerless, but it comes from a place of force. But if you really then let go and expand out into your soul's energy, which is boundless and it's limitless, you'll see you have full power to choose to take your next step because it's just what's here. There's no judgment. I just get to take another step. I get to keep ascending. I get to let go of old things. And that is where your power as a being exists. And it's your soul. Your soul is not here to find limitations. It's to get onto the other side of the constraints and realize how amazing you are as a human being. And we're all from that same source, of energy. So that's a good thing I like to let people know, because does you no good to judge yourself when you're in your victim's energy. Just recognize that's where you're at. And there's no shame in it. We all go there. We all have a story. It's just going, okay, let me just let that go, step into my ego a little bit, then step out to my soul, and then I'll grab this sucker by the reins.
As you're saying that, I can see how 29 plays out. We talked about this Friday and like the story with Shayna, where on Friday, she wasn't feeling well. She was fighting the mountain. She was fighting against the mountain and against the process. And we do that so much in life. This diagnosis comes this way. I'm feeling this pain. This blister shows up, and we're fighting against things. What's interesting about 29 is I see people time and time again who just feel so crappy on Friday because they're fighting. They come back Saturday after they've climbed on Friday, they fought, they've run out of energy. They've run out of that victim energy. They can't keep up with it anymore. And the only option is to submit to whatever is going to happen on this mountain. And what's interesting is they see their fastest laps. They don't know how they can keep moving, but they do keep moving. Some people's last laps are faster than the laps that you would expect when they're well-fueled and ready to go on Friday. They don't think that that's going to happen. And all of a sudden, because they've stepped out of that energy, out of that place, and they've allowed that other energy to come in, they're able to fly and flourish. And it's such a beautiful thing. Friday, I call it the work day. And it's the work day because we're constantly just fighting against it. And come Saturday, it's like this submission. This is what it is. This is what this mountain has for me. And I'm just going to keep taking it one step at a time, whatever may come on the other side.
Yeah, that's so great. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into this, because one of the things that I think is so beautiful when you listen to Mark or Jesse or Brent or Coach Chris talk, they all talk about this isn't linear.
Right.
But our brains want to think it's linear, that if my first lap was hard, my second lap will be harder. My third lap will be even harder. And what you realize through the process of that 36 hours is that it's not linear.
Yeah.
Just like life. Like you have the opportunity to go to your lowest point and actually ascend way up to a higher place of like true inner peace and just go, yeah, I could do this.
Yeah.
And find your fastest lap well down the road. Can you expand on that? Just the fact that it's not linear, I think, is what would be great for people to better understand.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing that endurance sport teaches us is the ups and downs, the ebb and flow of energy and how our body feels. That if you're on a peak, don't expect to be there forever. You're not going to be there. There's going to be a valley on the other side. But if you're in the valley, know that there's a peak on the other side. And it is this natural ebb and flow. None of us can stay at the summit. We can't stay at the summit. It's not a place that we can be. There has to be an ebb and flow. It's just a natural flow of the way that things work. And one thing that Coach Chris said, we have a lot of people who will spiral into this thinking like you're talking about, like, oh my gosh, what if I get the blister? What if my clothes don't fit and I'm chafing? What if I get sick? What if I get this? And Coach Chris, I heard him say one time, he shut it all down and he said, but what if that doesn't happen? What if that doesn't happen? Instead of spiraling into your worst case scenario, which is kind of what our victim energy always wants to do, where it's almost our natural inclination that protects us a little bit about all the things that could go wrong, but we fail to recognize all the things that could go right. And we put so much energy into that negative space. And if we can just find our ways through those peaks and valleys, I'm here. This is how I feel. Recognize it. I have a blister. What can I do about that blister right now? Take care of that blister. My stomach doesn't feel great. Okay, what can I do right now about that? So that I can just keep moving through and then experience those ups and downs, because we're here to experience all of that. It's all part of it. We don't sign up because we know that we're only going to feel like we do when we grab a red hat and we run down the red carpet. We know that we're in it in life. We're in it for the peaks and valleys of it. So, but what if everything does work out? Whenever you find yourself going there, try to switch those words that you're using. Try to switch that narrative. Don't expect, oh, I'm doing great today, I'm going to be even better tomorrow. We don't, that's not success. We got to stop defining success and failures that way.
Yeah, and stop letting our ego trick us, right? Our ego likes to look at past experiences and then project the future. But I think the most beautiful words I've learned that really allow you to access inner peace, which is part of kind of what we're really talking about, is I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know if I'm going to feel bad. I don't know. But I'm not going to allow myself to suffer for a future that may not happen.
Right.
Like,
right.
Why would I do that to myself? But we do it. And for everybody listening, there are very valid reasons why. And we're wired this way. So once you understand the wiring and the inner engineering, our brains are wired to keep us safe.
Yeah.
So they're always scanning for what's wrong. So that's why the narrative, it's not because you're a bad person. Has nothing to do with anything other than that's the primary function of the brain, is to keep us alive. So all you have to do is look down and go, yeah, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's beating. I'm breathing. Thank you, brain. But I can turn you off now. Let me get into my heart and like really feel what's available right now. And that was probably the second biggest thing that I learned, on the mountain, is when you're fully present, you can't be anything other than joyful.
Yeah.
So when I know, like, I'm here, wherever I'm at on the mountain, whatever stage, whatever lap, if I'm fully here, right where my feet are, I can't suffer. I can only suffer when I think about a future that I might not want. And you're like you said, maybe it doesn't work out that way. So just say, I don't know. Let's go find out. And that's when we get to sign up. We get to participate. So for those maybe even who haven't fully participated or signed up for life, and by that I just mean like real commitment, But if they want to start that, like with 29029, it's a very difficult event to get into. I'm sure a lot of people are going to Google it. They're going to be really excited about it. But how can people sign up for the event?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, 29029everesting.com, you can see all of our events and all the past events and everything like that. We sell all of our tickets at one time in the fall. So around the first part of November, we sell all of our tickets. So currently all of our mountain events are sold out for 2026, but come November, we'll be selling all of our tickets. And so if you just follow us, make sure that you know when those tickets are going on sale. Hopefully we can get you in. Where I feel like we've got more events. We've tried to, we're never going to have 25 events. That's not what 29 is about, but there is space, but you sign up about, we finish our final event and we have signups that start for the next year. And so sometimes you're almost 12 months out from that. So kind of follow along with that and you'll see it in the fall. We have another type of event that is called Trail, and it is 3 mountain marathons in 3 days. It is very different from the mountain, but it's another different endurance challenge, just like there's different kinds of endurance challenges. And we actually still have tickets available for that for one of our trail events. So Trail Park City actually still has some tickets available. So if you're really looking for something big to put on your calendar for 2026, 29 still has a little something for you, but our mountain events are sold out for this year.
Yeah. So if you're interested for next year, I would suggest go to the website and submit your email so that you're informed. And then around late October, you'll start getting some messages. They'll have a pre-call that kind of goes over the process, and then set a reminder on your calendar because you'll want to show up on the day tickets go on sale.
Yeah,
because in like 10 minutes,
the hour that tickets go on sale, yes,
they're gonna sell out.
Yeah.
One of the things, I don't think we've even talked about this, but after my experience last year, I put together a really small mastermind for people who wanted to figure out how they could participate, but not just finish. Like finish is a foregone conclusion in this mastermind. It's really, can I train my body, my mind, and my soul and my energy so that I could really take every step joyfully. We actually have 2 spots still available. It's for the Rainier event just outside of Seattle. But Jason, could you put that link? So if anyone is interested, this is a way you could participate. This is on June 25th through the 28th. But we're starting the mastermind actually tomorrow. We have 5 weeks of talking about how the brain works. You can learn all about that so that you know how to properly prepare yourself mentally. Then we'll go into a series on energy. And all the while, the overarching one is physically getting prepared because you have to physically be ready to do it. But this is an opportunity for you to really transcend all of your limiting constraints and become the best version of your true self, not the best version of your limited self. So if that's interesting, or if anybody is interested, you can visit that link. There are still 2 spots available. So I'd love now to kind of transition. Thank you for all of these stories so far. But I remember at the close of the event when we were all sitting around at Sun Valley, you said something that actually made me want to reach out to you to have you on the show. And that was this thought about how can we be that version of ourselves that we find when we're on the mountain, when we come back home, to our place of normal everyday life. Because it's easy. When you're on the mountain, I witnessed people who would grab a shovel to help make steps, to help their fellow, humans out. You watch people rush over and ask people for help. And it's just this different version that we show up as when we're on the mountain. And then it's easy to go back home and we start thinking about the things we want to chase instead of the person we want to be. Could you touch a little bit on that? Because that to me is the ultimate value you bring home, is this challenge. How can I be more like that person I am on the mountain when I'm at home, at work, at the dinner table, with friends, or just that person who's available to listen and make sure my friends are seen and heard and recognized?
I think what's interesting about the mountain is it is a bubble. There's a bubble that's created there, and we shed all of our outside clothing. It doesn't matter who you are, what
Uh,
that
we
we
got
can.
a little pause. There, she's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I
No
don't know
problem.
where I went, but I'm back. What I was saying was, on the mountain, we shed kind of all of these masks that we wear, and we just have to show up as ourselves. Everybody gets a white bib to wear for Friday until their red bib for their final ascent. And everybody puts on that bib. It has just your name on it. It doesn't say, "Hi, I'm Sandy, the results architect. I have this mastermind." We don't know who Sandy is. And Sandy gets to choose to show up however Sandy wants to show up on that mountain. And that translates so beautifully over to life, to allow people to show up in your life. Don't have the preconceived notions. Don't put that judgment on them. Let them show up for you and show up for them. How do you want to show up? I always, one thing that I've always noticed is the power of someone's name, not who they are, not what they do, but the power of someone's name. Because sometimes all I know about a person is their name. And I think, how easy is it for us to go throughout our days in our normal lives? We interact with people and we don't speak anyone's name. No one speaks our name back. But yet, how many times do you see people that have a name tag on? How many times do you see people who say hello or give you service or help you with something in your life? Are you reciprocating when you see that? When you're at the grocery store and you see Bob who's helping you out, do you say, "Hey Bob, how you doing?" Because you would on the mountain. If you walked by Bob on the mountain, you would say, "Hey Bob, how's it going today?" We need to do that every single day. We need to be present for the people who are around us every single day. We need to call their names. We need to look in their eyes. We need to say, "I see you." Give them an opportunity to see us, because I truly believe interactions like that would change the world if we started to see each other.
I agree. And I think in more ways than we can possibly imagine. Like when you get into quantum physics and you think of like the ripple effect of just seeing someone and how their behavior changes,
Mhm.
how they might show up better when they go home, how they might treat a coworker. Like there's a ripple effect that is not woo woo. It's real. Like that ripple effect can go out and impact so many more lives just because you took the time to honor
Yeah.
the person in front of you.
And we just have to remember that. So whether you've had an experience like 29 or another experience in your life that gave you that opportunity, what are you doing in your life to remind yourself of that? Sandy, where's your red hat? Is your red hat someplace that you see it? Do you wear it? And you
I
think,
tried it on this morning. I was going to wear it to the show, and I thought, it's a little too kitschy. So
yeah, but
I wore the sweatshirt. I wore the sweatshirt.
exactly. You wear the sweatshirt, you see the logo, and that logo isn't just a logo. You see it and you say, "That means something to me." You remember the people. And I think we just have to have those reminders in our lives, because things get hard. Like you said, life is hard. It is hard. We're going to have very difficult things, and we are not minimizing. I don't believe in toxic optimism. I don't believe in that. I, I think that we just have to have those reminders that it's going to be okay. I'm going to show up in my life. I'm going to allow other people to show up for me in my life. And I'm going to be present in the things that I'm doing, because that presence is what leads to the joy on the mountain that we see. As soon as we get people to disconnect from their outside stereotypes, from their outside labels, from all of that, as soon as we get them to disconnect, that's when things start flowing. That's when things start working.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've dedicated the rest of my life to inner peace. And I don't think there's a more euphoric thing that you can taste is when you get rid of all judgment and you get rid of everything, and you just inner peace means I'm okay with the way everybody is operating, because everything is only because everything is,
Well,
right?
and also seeing everybody as doing their best with what they have.
Absolutely. And, so the other thing that just blew my mind, and this is where expansive comes from, although it's not really why I started naming it that way, is when you make room. And Einstein's theory of relativity is not about relationships. It's really about the universe, but it does translate when you realize that two people could experience the same event differently. That opens your brain to go, wow, that means from somebody's relative speed, time, their awareness, the experiences they've had in life, that means they could interpret reality differently by watching the same event that I'm watching.
Yeah.
And you make room for, oh, I see why that person might have a Republican view. I can make room for that. Oh, I see why that person might have, a more liberal stance on this issue. I can make room for that. And you start to see that nobody's right.
No.
Nobody's wrong. They're just seeing life from their perspective based on all the relative history that they have. And you can go, wow, I can now make room for that. And you become peaceful. And you realize what I was judging in anybody's perspective was just where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And you can really find that level of inner peace. The moment I found it, tasted it, like I can't get enough of it. But you also realize, like you said, it's not the euphoric high where you're just walking around and like everything's beautiful.
Right.
Because nature in and of itself, it's got death. It's got all these other parts, but you can't say you love nature if you only love sunny sunsets. You got to love all of it, right? Just like life, just like ourselves. And so where I'm going with this is in remembering people's names is something I wasn't very good at for a long part of my life for a lot of reasons. But when it clicked for me is when I realized every human being is walking around from the default mode of being in fear. So someone that doesn't look happy, they're angry, right? They're not angry. They're just in fear. Something inside of them is fearful of something. So when you realize that, you can approach them and they'll feel it. Like, hey man, I just wanted to say hi. Or here's your name.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want to have dinner with you. I'm not saying, I'm not opening up anything more than I'm just honoring you and where you're at and just know that you matter and I see you.
Yeah.
And when you realize, like, sometimes we get intimidated, right, by somebody's title, or maybe they're incredibly good looking or whatever, and we're like, oh, I don't want to say hi to them. They're in fear too.
Yep.
Like, everyone is walking around from a mode of what's wrong, a little bit of fear, and when you can just realize that's okay. I'm not any better than they are. I walk around in fear as well. I'm human. And you can just break that barrier down and just say, Colleen, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
Not because I'm supposed to,
Right.
but I
because you
recognize
want-
I see you. Yeah, like just tell me, how are you doing? And if you want to talk, great.
Yeah.
But if you realize everyone's in fear, it breaks down the uncomfortableness of like, ooh, I don't know, do I really want to get into a conversation? Like it doesn't matter. That's your fear.
Right. Allow other people to hold some space and to be who they are and to step into where they want to be. I always think about the people at 29 to 29 who don't finish. It's a hard challenge. Not everybody finishes.
Right.
And so often that is our biggest fear for signing up. Like I can't sign up for something like this because what if I don't finish? What if I'm that person that doesn't finish? And success is just built on this archetype of this finish line, that you have to get across this line that somebody predetermined in the sand. But if we stop seeing finish lines and we start seeing journeys of other people, of ourselves, it doesn't matter if we are still showing up each and every day, if we are still making those choices each and every time that we come down to the base of our mountain. When we're in the valley, are we going to choose to keep climbing up to the top? We have that opportunity. In some of those, I call them white bib moments, because those people won't wear red bibs. Like Going back to Michael Douglas, some of his most transformative moments were when he wasn't wearing a white bib, because when he wasn't wearing a red bib, he had to make choices. He had to become somebody else in order to get there. So let's quit looking at these finish lines and these like check boxes as, oh, you've been successful. And let's just start looking up at that journey. How am I showing up every day? How did I show up? Did I show up better than I did the last time that I was faced with this? Awesome. Like, I'm becoming a better version of myself. And I just think we need to see people as that, and we need so much to see ourselves like that. We have to redefine what quote unquote success is in our lives and just choose to accept opportunity, to be present, and to keep climbing.
Absolutely. Like, this has so many things coming up for me. Like, one of my favorite quotes ever that I want to live and really understand is Rumi says that when I chase after what I think I want, my life becomes a furnace of stress and anxiety. And it goes on from there. But if we just stop there, what you realize is when you're chasing symptoms,
Mhm.
like you're chasing the red hat, you're going to show up for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
You know, when you try and start a company to make money, you're
Mhm.
going to start it with the wrong intention. When you show up because you have to, you're showing up, I don't want to say the wrong reason, but you're chasing a symptom and you have an expectation of what you're going to get back from it.
Yeah.
When you let go of the expectation and you just sign up because of whatever, you know, you have a different intention, you get to approach it differently. And the neuroscience behind this is fascinating. But the beautiful thing about a mountain and nature that helps with neuroscience, it's backed by neuroscience, is when you show up in a different environment, it actually changes the way that you think you're programmed to behave.
Mm.
So a different version of you automatically gets to show up. They call it like spike prediction errors.
Mhm.
So you can actually show up different. You can be more free to be a different version of yourself. And that's where I would say signing up is the victory.
Yeah.
When you sign up, you just gave yourself permission to show up in a different environment that's going to shock your system. You're going to see 300 like-minded people who are all that version on the mountain. And if all you get to do is climb and find some resistance and then let some tears out, you know, like laugh a little bit, not take it too serious, you're going to see that you get to purge
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
If you get a red hat, you don't get a red hat, no big deal. And you can come back, you know, and keep
Mhm.
coming at it while you kill off these older, limited versions of yourself that everybody has. But it's just putting yourself in a new environment. And I know you love being out trail running, and whether it's the Grand Tetons or the Grand Canyon, these are all those kind of places. So even if 29029 is not your total jam, or you missed the sign up, or you don't want to do the mastermind, or you don't want to sign up for trail, go to, you know, the Grand Canyon and take a walk,
Yeah.
and you'll see what's available, a different version. You'll allow yourself to process emotion.
Yeah.
You'll allow yourself to lean into the feelings you don't want to feel at home because it doesn't feel safe, because it doesn't fit the veil that you've put on where you're supposed to be strong or you're supposed to be something else. But these give us permission.
Mhm.
And that's when you get to expand, you get to make room for the emotions you haven't addressed, for however you're really feeling, and lean into it and just sit with, God, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah. Nature is a beautiful gift that we have, and it's literally outside our door. Even if you live in New York City. I was telling I have a 17-year-old son, I'm like, I need you to go touch grass and see the sunshine. Like, I need you. Nature is a gift because it's a vehicle for us to see different perspectives.
Yeah. I want to see, Jason, do we have any comments or questions? I don't see Joe there anymore either. Okay. Well, I wanted to kind of summarize and wrap this up in the last 5 minutes that we have, and then give you an opportunity to really tie this all off for us. But I would say one of the most important things after listening to this conversation 29029 sounds big. Mount Everest sounds big. And if that scares you, it's a really good sign.
Mhm.
And just know that any part of you that might be showing you resistance, the number one thing I've found to remember is there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with any of us. And so that can free you up enough just to say, yeah, I'm going to experiment with a new environment. I'm going to start surrounding myself with different people who have a different expectation of me for
Mhm.
how I'm going to sign up. You can't be the person that signs up for 29029, goes around 299 other people and then say, hey, can I tell you about all my problems? Hey, you, can I tell you why I can't finish? Hey, you, do you have time for me to tell you why my life is so bad? It just won't exist. So you get an opportunity to show up different in an environment that's different, around people who have a different expectation. They know you're a boundless, limitless soul. They expect you to access that, but they also have compassion, knowing that we're all human. We're all going to run into some variation of our own wall. We're all going to probably run into some different emotion, and it's all okay.
I love that. I love that. Embracing where you are, where other people are, and just, it's such a beautiful mantra with 29 to 29. Just keep climbing. If every day you wake up and think, how can I keep climbing today? That's how you win that day. How are you going to take that opportunity and that we're collecting opportunities each and every day. And if we see it as that, we're going to change the way that we react to things. And we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to, this isn't something that we don't change in a day. No, there's no expectation. I loved what you said, Sandy, is you're great just where you're at. You are great. Accept yourself right here. And then look for the opportunities. Look for the opportunities to be present. Look for opportunities to go climb a mountain, or I'm looking at a big hill outside of my window thinking, climb to the top, see what's there, get an expansive view. Don't just stay at the bottom, because when you're in the valleys of life, it is hard. And if you can get up, get a little elevation, get a little bit higher, you might just see that you can take the next step and that there is something beyond that. And it's just a beautiful thing. So touch some grass, see some sunshine, climb some mountains. It's going to be great.
And have compassion for yourself.
For
Like,
sure.
just know, I think it's hard because, I can relate because I used to judge these kind of events. They sound hard. They sound intimidating. They sound like you've got to give up your soul in exchange for a red hat. But that's not what you're doing. You're actually fueling your soul. You're growing it. You're honoring it. The red hat is just the symptom of you being the badass human being that you were already.
Yeah.
And if all you do is join an event like this, or take a walk out in nature, go to the Grand Canyon, if all you do is just give yourself the room to realize the lie that you've been living in, one version of that lie, any part of you that feels like, I just don't feel like I'm enough, or this happened so I can't do something, just if you can just zoom out or get a little higher elevation, zoom out and just realize, God, what is the lie that I've been telling myself? Can I recognize it? Then can I have compassion for why I believed it? Because some circumstance shaped that for me. But now I get to realize and let it dissolve. It's not true.
Yeah.
And I get to step in and now be around these amazing people, which we all are, and kind of let the best version of myself come out. Is a beautiful human process. And we're all envious of you, Colleen, where you get to witness this so many different times throughout the year and see this unfold in real time, and know that it's not just a bunch of hype. It's
No.
not just another motivational speaker telling you you're great.
No.
It's watching people realize through real life, real challenges, the lies they've been living, and watch those fall off their back and be able to leave them on the trail, in the canyon, at the river, in the ocean, wherever it is that they are.
It's beautiful. I know as we're wrapping up, but there's a picture right behind me
Yeah.
of Karen, And this is at a trail event. Karen was widowed and lost her husband and was dealing with so much grief. And she had never been an endurance athlete ever before. And she signed up for trail, 3 mountain marathons in 3 days at Lake Tahoe. We had never done it before. She didn't know what she was getting into, but she got the resources. She trained. She got there the first day. She went about 18 miles and didn't finish. She got out the next day, went about halfway and didn't finish. On the third day, she went out and she finished all 26.2 miles and became a marathoner that day. And
Wow.
this moment is when she crossed that finish line. And she's in her 60s. She's a woman who's lived through so much, but that's where her life and her perspective changed, because she was just willing to keep showing up day after day after day.
And she got to experience that it's not linear.
No.
Linear would have said the third day is harder. You can only do 6 miles. And
Yep.
this is like the best evidence that it's not linear. If you feel, anyone watching, that you're at kind of a low point, you can vertically ascend like really high from that place. It doesn't have to be just a linear progression. You can, by escaping that kind of victim's energy and stepping into more and more power, like really ascend very quickly. So with that, Colleen, I want to thank you so much for your time, your presence, like your energy, what you bring, to life every day. But for this last hour, we've all been blessed by having you here, listening to your stories, and just the way that you show up for life. Thank you so much for all the insights, the stories, and the takeaways. It's been a pleasure having you.
Oh, thanks, Sandy. It's amazing. I could sit and we could visit for hours and hours and do more stories. And I can't wait to see you and your crew at Rainier. It's going to be a great summer because we're just going to keep climbing.
Yeah. Well, we'll have an amazing view from the top there as well.
We will. Yes.
With Mount Rainier in the backdrop. Well, to you, Colleen, and to everybody that joined, thank you all for your time. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope this helps you live a more expansive life as you move forward. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching an Expansive Life Conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.